What's happening, everybody? Welcome into the brand new edition of the Mac and Reed Show right here on Second City Gridiron. For all your Bears news, follow at Second City Gridiron on all social media as we're gearing up for the draft and the 2025 NFL season. Subscribe to the channel. If you get the audio-only versions on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your media, do the same. Hit the like button. Tell a friend or two. And yeah, we're live on YouTube for those who are trying to watch on there. For the articles for Windy City Gridiron, you can follow at WC Gridiron. Go to windycitygridiron.com to check out those great articles. And you can follow us on social media. Follow me at the Real Evan Mac. Follow Ross at Ross Reed. How you doing, my friend? What's going on?
What's up? We're gonna need some music. I'm like a Dominican closer in baseball. I need like some music to bring me out. Like, what's the guy from the Mets? He's like, and he's got like the horns for like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, we
We're
definitely
gonna
need
need
something
something.
like that in our lives. Yeah,
You could
I'm
be
with
like
you there.
you could be like Trevor Hoffman. We get some Hell's Bells going.
It's weird going in cold. We'll work on an intro for our shows going forward. But this is our inaugural show with Second City Gridiron. Joined as always by Ross Reed. I'm Evan Mack. We're pumped to be here. Ross and I have been doing a show similar to this style for about a decade now. We're going to be very Bears focused. We're excited to be working with some great talent here at Second City Gridiron. I mean, the background is we're some Chicago guys. I grew up on the north side. I lived my entire life in the city, and then I just left for the suburbs a couple of years ago with my kids. And in addition to the Bears, I love the Bulls and most of the Chicago sports teams, and trashing the Reinsdorf family. And being the Midwest kid I am, lover of the food scene in Chicago, all the entertainment that this fair city has to offer, and of course, big on music. Ross and I will bond on movies, television, comedy, you name it. We'll throw some of that in this show as well. And yeah, my co-host Ross Reed over here. Sometimes the hair's out, sometimes it's not. We get the braids today.
Got the braids today. They'll stay in for a little bit. Yeah, sometimes you'll see with the hair out, but
Yeah.
same thing, right? Chicago kid. Evan grew up on the north side. I grew up on the Hyde Park, so south side. Went to De La Salle High School right there on 35th in Michigan. Played football there, baseball there. Have lived in the city my entire life except the 4 years that I went off to college in Virginia. And yeah, grew up Bears, White Sox, Bulls. Got to see all six championships. I was 4 years old when the Bears won their Super Bowl in '85. So we are truly Chicago guys through and through. Tavern crust. I had some deep dish over the weekend though, which was awesome.
Where was that
Uh,
from, by the way?
that was from Giordano's. That if I go
Oh,
to with the if I go to a deep dish, it's got to be Old Faithful. I know a lot of people are Lou Malnati's or Gino's East. Pequod's is a little too far for me. There's a Giordano's right here in the South Loop. That's the go-to. The 3 to 4 times a year, I'll eat some deep dish.
Giordano's will put out a fine deep dish pizza.
Yes.
I'm with you there, my friend. Tavern crust, though, all the way, just in a
Yes.
pinch is great. And welcome to Viso Joe and a couple of familiar faces here. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. So to get to it, we're in a sort of shorter format today, just previewing the draft because it's April 22nd. The draft will be just in a couple days here with the Bears picking 10th overall, allegedly at this point. Now listen, before we get to those potential picks though, and where the Bears stand and the rest of the NFL for that matter, Ben Johnson is a lot of things. He's a great football mind, coach, father, offensive guru, what have you, all around good guy, it seems. But I did not peg him for a poet. And he wrote a poem to honor Brian Piccolo for the Bears annual Piccolo Awards. This guy can do it all, Ross. I mean, it's not shades of Mr. Deeds. It's very Ben Johnson. And
He
I won't read the whole poem, but please look it up because it's pretty terrific. I kind of read it in on that note, like Al Sharpton way.
He wrote a poem for Brian Piccolo. Obviously, they passed out the Piccolo Award today. One goes to a veteran, one goes to a rookie. TJ Edwards was the one that got the veteran. Shout out to him. He got a new contract extension and also was the Piccolo Award winner for a veteran. And then the rookie was Roman Dunze. As they give it to exemplary guys on and off the field. But then also, did you see Ben Johnson's first pitch over the weekend at Wrigley Field? He threw like a
Nice.
84-mile-an-hour splitter right over the plate. I mean, what
Right.
can't this guy
Bottom of
do?
the strike box. It was sick.
Yeah. He's really hamming it up right now in this offseason
The
and living the
support for him.
dream.
Yeah, and the support for him by, the brass too, and other players coming out to watch him throw that first pitch.
Yep.
Was that Friday game too? That was nuts.
It was. It was like,
Yeah.
yes.
Fucking
Yes.
21 to, or I don't know if we can curse on this network.
You just
21. 20. just a reminder, we're pretty explicit, and I don't think Lester and Jeff mind if we're a little explicit here and there. Anyways, I should censor myself. But 21 runs in the 7th and 8th, that was unbelievable.
Yes.
But we're not here to talk about baseball. But Ben Johnson, man, that was unbelievable. And I'm sure he cries in Brian's songs like most of the men out there, because it's such a tearjerker. Let's dive into it, Ross. We got to talk about it. Today I think the only thing that's kind of making people second guess things is Ryan Poles' cryptic presser, where he said, quote, "This is a large pool of very good football players. Think you could do some different things to get more players that are going to be able to come in and help your team quicker." He thinks that this draft is going to be, quote, "a little wild." He said he expects, quote, a lot more movement than there has been in the past. So that is led a lot of people to feel like perhaps they move out of 10, they move up if they're really hot on one of these guys like Ashton Genty, or I don't know, one of the top offensive tackles, or Abdul Carter, I guess, if you could really go reach there. But it looks like, every mock at this point, I feel like that top 5 is very set. But outside of that, we've talked about it last week, Ross, how it just seems like Ryan Poles put it very well. It could be very wild, very unpredictable. There typically you'll mock, several quarterbacks in that first round, or at least a few in the top 10. Even like Shedeur Sanders might fall out, but it looks like, given what Ryan Poles said, what do you think the odds are, or how you feeling about the Bears perhaps trading, within up in that top 10 to get a certain player?
Yeah, or back, right? Like you could trade back too. He had another quote there. Brad Biggs from the Tribune quoted, saying that, he liked the depth in the draft, would suggest that he might trade back maybe a couple picks to maybe recoup a second rounder. The thing is, the Bears are certainly open for business, I think, in either direction, either moving up or moving back, depending on how the board falls. There's a lot of just cryptic stuff out there today. Now, of course, we're 48 hours away from the draft. So you're going to get all of this weird coach, GM speak, agent speak, a lot of cryptic stuff coming from insiders and things like that. But, I started to look around today, and, off the heels of Ryan Poles saying that in the presser today, you've got people like Brian Baldinger, as soon as like just an hour ago, tweeting out that he expects a big kind of earth-shattering trade at the top of the draft, and he's saying that he's been hearing some things and doesn't want to say it yet, but that suggests a team like the Bears move up to 5th or 6th to take Ashton Genty, which I think would be the guy that sits atop of their board right now. I saw a tweet from Benjamin Solak today, who now covers the NFL for ESPN. And obviously he sits in a room on a day-to-day basis with a lot of really connected insiders of the likes of Adam Schefter and a bunch of other people. And he had, really one trade in his first round mock draft. And coincidentally, it was the Chicago Bears moving up to 7. That's where the Jets occupy right now, to select Ashton Genty. So I feel like there's a little bit of smoke right now of, if the Bears were to move up, it would be for the running back Ashton Genty. I mean, obviously he's the most dynamic offensive player at the top of this draft. He would certainly fit a need that they have, which is explosive playmaker in Ben Johnson's offense. And after they retooled the offensive line in the offseason, he certainly would be a fit. The biggest question is, what price are you willing to pay to move up for a guy like that? And for as dynamic as Genty is, he still is a running back, which is not necessarily a premium position that you want to part, ways with picks for. Our colleague here, Taylor Dow, she's, on Twitter, at Tay Dahl, and she put up a poll 30 minutes ago. And her poll was, do you think Ryan Poles would give up pick 41 to move up 5 spots for Genty? She's got 139 votes already. That thing's been up only for 30 minutes. And 51% of Bears fans say yes. 48.9% say no. So the fan base is literally split down the middle of, do you want to go up for this kind of guy? And I feel like that's what it is. I feel like half the fan base, if they do it, is going to be praising the move. The other half is going to have pitchforks out. And then obviously 2, 3, 4 years from now, we'll see who was right, who was wrong. But I think they could move down too. There were some rumblings today. Even, Albert Breer suggested that Houston Texans might want to move up, if an offensive lineman were to fall. I know there's some rumblings that the Colts might want to move up because they really like Tyler Warren, and if Tyler Warren were to fall. So I feel like the Bears could go in either direction. There's so much to shake out between now and virtually, 49 or 48 hours and 45 minutes from now until we start seeing teams get on the clock. And of course, a lot of it depends on what happens, I think, after pick 2. What did the Giants do at 3 that really dictates how this draft is going to fall out?
Yeah, it's tough because I feel like, you live at 10 with the best player available. A lot of people say that if it's Tyler Warren or Josh Simmons or Kelvin Banks Jr., I feel like it's very, regardless of who it is, it's going to be offense. And it's going to be, if you're really sold, because Ashton Genty's not dropping to 10. We're very aware of that. And are any of these guys outside of Genty franchise changing to trade up for? No, outside of that. But to trade back, and if you get more picks as a result to figure that out, then I think there's something to be said about that. You mentioned Tyler Warren and a lot of teams being really hungry for a tight end like that. I get it. It's the best player available for me. I think, with the 4 picks in the draft, it's not a lot compared to other teams, like half what most other teams have, but the 2 in the second round are going to be pretty intriguing because you can fill a lot of needs there, even though the Bears are pretty loaded with offense right now. It seems like an offensive lineman, regardless of how that 10 pick will go, will be selected, if not a couple offensive linemen, a tackle or a guard or both, a running back. You just wonder who, Quinshon Judkins has been thrown out there into the second round, perhaps, or Travion Henderson has been, mocked into even the first round at this point. And the same with like Caleb Johnson, maybe last into the third round with that last pick that the Bears had. I know they like him out of Iowa. He had a visit with the Bears, but I would be hard pressed to jump on a guy like Ashton Genty just for what it costs, I suppose. But we know that Ryan Poles has done this before, as far as, look at the Panthers trade and how he got that second round pick, that first one at 41. I believe it's 41 and 43 overall. And yeah, I have full faith in him to do that, but I also have full faith in him to treat this just like the Darnell Wright draft, where if they see a guy like that and they have a guy on their board, and I know he's blowing a lot of smoke at this point saying, there's this quote, large group of players, different things to get more players that are going to be able to come in and help your team quicker. It feels like he's mastered that sort of manipulation of the press at this point, just to distract from the fact that he's, going to approach this pretty fundamentally and just to get that best player available. Which leads us now, Ross, to, if you're on the clock Thursday for the Bears, and if you don't trade out of that pick at 10, is it a Tyler Warren? Is it a Simmons, or is it someone else in your mind right now?
Yeah, you asked if there's someone else in my mind. I think a guy like Colston Loveland is not getting enough love. The other tight end, quote unquote, right? But he's not really the other tight end. This guy's very explosive, very productive player in Michigan. And the knock on Tyler Warren is he's a little bit older. He really only had 1 year of amazing production at Penn State. A pretty iffy blocker out there. Whereas I think Colston Loveland is the more dynamic athlete. He's the more dynamic player in terms of explosiveness. And I also think he's the better comp to ding, 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 Sam Laporta, who was, obviously the tight end that was drafted by the Lions in the first round a couple of years ago for Ben Johnson. So I think if you're looking for who fits what Ben Johnson might want to run better, I think is Loveland. I think that not enough people are talking about that. And that could mean maybe the Bears are able to move back a couple spots and still get that guy Loveland and maybe recoup another second round pick. In a perfect world, in my opinion, you let the Colts come up to 10, you let them go get Tyler Warren, you move back and you're able to get Colston Loveland and recoup a second round pick. I am all in though on if you stay at 10 and Ashton Jeanty is on the board. I just don't know if he's going to get there at this point. Right now, he is the favorite to go 5th overall, which currently the Jaguars hold that spot. There's some rumblings, obviously, that they want to move out of that spot and recoup some more draft picks as well. So maybe somebody else comes up there to get it. That's not the Bears. Is it a team like the Dallas Cowboys or something like that? That we know the Cowboys are not shy in taking a running back that high or a skill position player that high. So, if you look at the betting odds right now, as I looked right before we started the show, tight end is still the favorite position for the Bears to draft. And then after that, it goes to, defensive line, edge position. So that would, maybe scream a guy like Mason Graham, who sounds like he might be sliding a little bit right now. Maybe they go that route and adjust that. And then after that, it's the running back spot. So I think as it stands today, we don't know what the hell is going to happen in this draft. This has been one of the stranger drafts I've seen in a long time because there's no trade movement right now. And it could just get very volatile starting at 3rd overall. I can tell you, I'm going to go on record right now and saying I would be disappointed if the Bears moved up and gave up a second round pick to draft Ashton Jeanty. As much as I am an Ashton Jeanty fan, I'm a huge fan of his. I just do not think that they are in a position in terms of where they're at on this. I'm not calling it a rebuild, but on this overall team trajectory where they can be giving up a high second round pick to draft a running back. And for as dynamic as he is, and look around the league right now, your Christian McCaffrey's, your Derrick Henry's, and this is not an exact apples to oranges comp, but neither one of those guys are on their current teams right now, nor did they win much when they were on their first teams, right? And the biggest thing that concerns me the most about Jeanty is he does come in the NFL with a lot of miles on him. He had a lot of touches in college. Very physical guy. We talked about, I threw out the stat last week that he had the 2nd most yards in college football after contact. So he was number 1 in overall yards, and number 2 was him in just his after contact yards. And that sounds awesome. But guess what? That means there's a little bit more wear and tear on that Ferrari. And then you get into the NFL, and these guys hit even harder. And, over there is Fred Warner and Roquan Smith and all these guys in the NFL and Jalen Carter. And, that concerns me a little bit about not only moving up to get him, but then giving up premium draft picks to do so.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Ashton Jeanty as a prospect and an athlete, and I love what he did in college. But it's pretty different going from Boise State to the NFL, right? And when you had that wear and tear, and like everybody's pointing out at this point in the chat, that it is a deeper running back class, and you're just sort of better suited to address that in the 2nd and potentially 3rd round, given who's out there. And for me, they're just more pro-ready prospects. Like if you look at Quinshon Judkins' numbers, for example, and if he's there at one of those 2nd round picks, it's hard for me to pass up on a guy like that who had a hell of a college career, played well in a big game, runs a 4.4, like freak athlete, just has a pretty clear path into fitting well into a Ben Johnson style offense. And, maybe then that sort of Jahmyr Gibbs road is like, the hope of all hopes. But yeah, I don't see them really being that risky because of this draft class, because it's very weird. It's not as loaded as that draft class that had, like a Jahmyr Gibbs and a Bijan Robinson. And now that the Bears have addressed that, thank God they're not drafting a quarterback in this year, because there's no guarantee that Cam Ward is that dude or any of these guys after him. It's going to be anybody's guess. Or even a Travis Hunter, it's just, I feel like it's it would behoove them to just stick to what their needs are as far as building depth which it's paramount to build up that offensive line.
Yep.
You had a great offseason already
Yep.
by building up that interior, signing Tooney and company.
Yep.
And I think you can build off of that with some other young talent, even if it's not at 10 necessarily. If you go Tyler Warren, that's also great because more weapons for Caleb Williams. But I think it's just, maybe it's not out of the question, depending on the calls that Ryan Poles gets to trade out of 10, either back, that is. But yeah, to move up would just be pretty unrealistic at this point.
100%. I mean, you hit it on the head. They did a good job in the offseason, even beefing up the offensive line, but there's still some question marks there, right? Braxton Jones is going to be entering. He's going to be looking for a contract very soon. Joe Tooney, even they talked about today, they want to extend him, but he's an older player. He does not have long-term probability with this team. Jonah Jackson, who they brought in from out west from the Rams, he didn't have a good season last year, and he was also injured. We've seen Darnell Wright with injury issues. There is still some depth issues on that offensive line, and that's why I want them to keep not only both of their second round picks, but it'd be nice if they can add on to that, because they need to add some depth on that line. And you still have pass rush issues. You still have defensive line issues on the opposite side of the football, right? And so you need to add in my opinion, still at least another 2 rock solid guys in the trenches, which means you're just not really in a position, in my opinion, to give up draft capital to go get a guy like Ashton Jeanty, as much fun as it would be, right? But we've seen that meme before of having the $300,000 sports car parked underneath a dilapidated house and outdoor garage. That's exactly what you don't want. Even though I think Ashton Jeanty would be awesome in Chicago, but remember, you're not one running back away from winning the division and making a Super Bowl run. At the end of the day, there still is, in my opinion, it's always the quarterback's the most important thing on the roster. Protecting him is the second most important thing. And the third most important thing is going after the opposing team's quarterback. And those final 2 things, I think the Bears still have a couple holes there.
It's such a tough position to draft for, just because of how we see the wear and tear of running backs. And a lot of it is a tandem sort of scenario where you look at, again, an offense that Ben Johnson comes from with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and able to spell one or the other. When David Montgomery misses significant time, at least you have Gibbs. So, there's that point. If you want, to look at a DeAndre Swift and someone else from this draft, you would hope that it'd be a thunder and lightning type of combo. But, looking outside of that first round pick, as you said, it could be the case could be made for the trenches to be bolstered a bit. And Kenneth Grant, big Michigan DT from Gary, Indiana, you're looking at guys like that. On the offensive side, Tate Ratledge, Georgia's mulleted offensive guard, was a monster. He's like 6'6", 330. CJ West played at IU. He's another D tackle. Keep your eye on an edge rusher, Shamar Turner. These are guys who have, look like they would potentially be over there. Jordan Birch has been floated to, defensive end from Oregon. He's a big guy. Again, those running backs I mentioned, is there an ideal way that they go? I mean, as you said too, Ross, I feel like, I wouldn't be terribly mad at not addressing running back potential and skipping on that and just going in the trenches. If you just get a couple offensive linemen, D tackle, I don't know. There's a line, I should say, I feel like there's a need for potentially backer or safety, but yeah, what are you seeing in this?
Safety is a definite need for sure. Especially with the fact that, Byard is a little bit older guy and Brisker has had some health concerns. I mean, the concussion thing obviously is something that you have to monitor throughout now. In terms of the running back spot, I'm a big fan of Trayvon Henderson, the other Ohio State running back. I just love his explosiveness. I love his speed. I love the fact that he's an amazing pass blocker. Which I think is going to be very important, obviously, with a guy like Caleb Williams on there. But you talked about Quinshon Judkins as well. I think he's going to be awesome. I even like a guy like Damian Martinez as kind of like a good early down back. He's not really as physical as you would want, but he would be a later round guy. I think I keep going back to that interior offensive line because I think that long term it just concerns me a little bit on what the depth looks like. So you start talking about guys like Seth McLaughlin, the center out of Ohio State. You talk about guys like Willie Lampkin, who's the guard out of North Carolina. I think of somebody, Tyler Cooper is a guy that could start off as a very solid backup and then maybe move into a starting spot as well. So there's a couple of names that I would keep an eye on there. It's going to be a fascinating draft. We talked about this last week when we did our show, but in my opinion, I think the Bears need to walk away with 3 rock solid starters in this draft. You make that very difficult to do if you trade one of those early second round picks. But they need to walk away from this draft with 3 starters because the clock is going to start on this team sooner than later. Yes, Ben Johnson has some time. He's a first-year head coach. Yes, Caleb Williams also has some time. He's a second-year quarterback. But Ryan Poles has been here for a little while, and Ian Cunningham has been here for a little while as well. And I think the clock is a little bit started on those guys. The clock has definitely started from a fan's perspective as we're trying to we're trying to go into like a consistency territory at this point. And, you start factoring stadium stuff involved and you're asking for money and this and that. They need to start putting some winning seasons out there, and they need to upgrade the talent on both sides of the football. So I really hope, to kind of cap it, they don't give up premium picks for Ashton Jeanty, as much as I love the player himself.
Yeah, hard to believe. I think Antonio Esparza in the chat believes that Ryan Poles will go that route and somehow screw up this draft. Gotta have faith thus far, my man. He's already done so well in the off season. I feel like obviously bolstering both sides of the ball as far as the defensive line and offensive line is concerned. But 4 picks, you figure you got to get some good quality players there. And we talked about Braxton Jones's contract situation. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough position to play, obviously, playing the blind side for most quarterbacks. And you would like a sort of safety net because we know that health has been an issue for Jones. So that's certainly a priority. And then again, the health at running back can always be an issue. Swift was pretty up and down last year. And in a lead back role or someone to spell him would be important. And Roschon Johnson had some issues with injuries as well, but still good having that running back room. But, again, I've preached it a lot. I like that they're going away from their reputation just being very defense heavy, that as in the Bears being ball hawking. That's great. And I would like to do that. It starts with pressure up front. And now, you figure Sanborn's gone. Sewell, we'll see how he fits in the starting role too. Maybe you, again, want some insurance there with one of these young guys in the draft and look deeply into that position. But that secondary, I got a lot of faith in as well. And I know we talked about the re-signing of Gordon and just how well, an All-Pro and Jalen Johnson. I think they're very set up for success, but the depth of those positions are going to be something to watch. Anything in the 3rd round with that last pick that would be ideal for you, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, you want to, at some point, they're going to have to address getting a massive space eater on the defensive line. I mean, you have Andrew Billings. He's going to come back from injury, but you still want some depth behind him. I'm not a big Zach Pickens guy. I think he's actually I don't know if it'd be a surprise, but I think he's a cut candidate this year, especially now that you have Grady Jarrett and Gervon Dexter Sr. Those guys are going to be kind of your get up the field, pass rushing defensive linemen, but you still need multiple big guys up the middle to help plug that run game a little bit and help free up your Montez Sweats and Deo, who they just signed, obviously, from the Colts. So I would like them to go for one more just big, nasty, ugly guy to help clog up the middle that can help spell Billings and get guys like, allow Dexter Senior, to rotate in even with Grady Jarrett on those passing down situations. Or I think now in a Dennis Allen offense, since he likes his defense, since he likes his edge guys a lot bigger, you can even see Dexter Senior play outside a lot more and rush from the end opposite Montez Sweat.
I like it. Green Bay is the place to be on Thursday. And
is it though? Is it?
Not anything else. Still doesn't roll off the tongue, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're like, we got a Culver's and a gas station. Come see us.
The nightlife is lacking, I think, just on that. I've driven through Green Bay. It's been years since I've been to a game, but I drove through years ago just like for a job interview. It's just, I don't, as nice as the history is of that stadium, wouldn't you rather take so many other just cities, that have so much offer, especially in a draft situation? It's like, it's still not quite warm in Green Bay. There's no escape. Detroit was something last year, but
yeah, and I think I read, the population in Green Bay. I can look it up real quickly, but population in Green Bay was something like 100,000 people or 150,000 people, and they're expecting this Thursday and into the weekend like over 200,000 people. And I have been to Green Bay 2 times, and listen, the people there have treated me amazing. So shout out to them. But if you don't get to stay in that little immediate surrounding of where Lambeau Field is, you're going to find yourself 20, 30, 40 minutes outside the town. And they got like one road just to get in there. It is a train wreck. Or you're going to find yourself in like your Lake Geneva or Milwaukee or something like that, which is even further away. That's about 2 hours away.
Yeah,
exactly. Population of Green Bay, 107,395 people. That's the West Loop of Chicago on a Saturday night.
Or the Loop back in the day, my friend.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the Bears before we wrap it up?
No, I can't wait. I think we can all say we can't wait to just see what happens at this point. It's been a very long draft cycle, as it always is. We've seen and we've had our buffet of mock drafts all to this point, and rumors and so forth. So I'm hoping that the Bears at least put us out of our misery. Not too soon on Thursday, not like going up to 5th overall soon or something like that, but maybe they don't let this drag out in the first round too long. We can finally see who it is, and we can all exhale and cheer or complain, get a good night's rest, and then see what they do for the rest of the weekend. Because while the spotlight is always on the first round, the rest of the draft matters just as much as possible. You need to find some depth guys. You need to find your core special team guys. You can find some diamonds in the rough in the later rounds as well. So it's still going to be very important to see what they do on Friday into Saturday as well. I think, obviously here at Second City Gridiron, we're going to be leaning a lot on Jacob Infante, who's our resident draft guy, to kind of break down each and every pick for us throughout the weekend.
Yeah, you can check out Jacob's work and Taylor's and all the work from Second City Gridiron, Mason as well, all on the channel at Second City Gridiron. We're very happy to be here with everybody. Ross, we got to get a Bears plate in the background for you, I think.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Yeah. Maybe if they draft, I all my plates, for people who don't know, they're watching this for the first time. They all come from places that my wife and I visit. So we actually get these plates from the places we go. There's tons in front of me as well. There's probably like 20 plates at this point. So maybe if the Bears draft Ashton Genty, I have to make myself to Boise, Idaho one day to get a blue Boise plate to match.
A Boise plate to the addition to your collection would be something else, my friend.
Yes.
Thanks everybody for watching in, and remember to like, subscribe, tell a friend or two at Second City Gridiron for all the Breaking Bears news you need in this offseason draft coverage. I'm at the Real Evan Mac. Ross is at Ross Reed. I got you some background music just for you until we get a little more here.
I love it. As long as it's copyright protected, we don't get shut down.
It is. It's from the StreamYard here. All right, thanks everybody. Enjoy the draft. For now, we say deuces. So long.